Welcome once again, brothers and sisters, to another episode of The Lodge. I am joined today by V and Sargon, and we're going to harass the Muslim population today and talk about what we could possibly do to prevent, well, terrorism in general, with what could perhaps be considered, by some at least, draconian measures. So, thank both of you for joining me today.
Oh, no, thank you. It's a real honour to star on a prestigious channel like The Lodge, mate. Thank you. So I'm just being a dick.
I would thank you, but I'm brimming with jealousy because your channel has more subs than mine now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say it, but how could you leave it out, I guess?
Indeed. I not only bypassed V in subscriber numbers, I literally deleted his channel. That's quite the achievement.
But yeah, so, yeah. How would you like to approach this?
Well, I think at this point we have gone over the fact that the problem is Islam at this point. Not necessarily Muslims, but Islam. So often that it's time to talk about how to actually fix said problem. I'd suggest we start by the idea of just closing the borders, getting back border control in general for the EU, if necessary, or if not possible for the EU, then for the individual nations.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let me lay out how I think. Because the problem is there are lots of levels to this. So you've got the most immediate pragmatic solutions that we can do to drive down the number of terror attacks, and like you say, close borders, presumably prevent foreign preachers from preaching in mosques and radicalizing people, prevent foreign funding of mosques, and increase surveillance and anti-terror laws and police and all that sort of thing. But inside of Islam, once you go into the sort of pool that is Islam, you've got a lot of people who have problems with convincing other people about certain things, and the Wahhabis are one of they're basically considered like an ideological cancer, as far as I can tell. And the problem with them is that the Muslim world is failing to differentiate between belief and action. And I think this comes from the fact that Islam is both a religion and a political ideology.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the root of the problem.
However, I would say that it's not our job necessarily to reform Islam. I'm kind of talking about just what we could do as nations, because I don't think it is within our permit to change their religion. If it's going to have to be changed, I think they're going to have to do it themselves.
I agree, and I have one question. Why are the borders of EU open in the first place? Well, how does it benefit people in the European Union?
Because the European Union is run by neoliberal globalist cucks.
Yes, and it didn't used to be like that 5 years ago. It never used to be like that. Like, the idea of state sovereignty was absolute. You would never even think about questioning the borders of a nation until recently. And I even watched videos from other neoliberalist cocks, like we call them, like Obama in his first term. He was also talking about the importance of borders in America. And you have Hillary Clinton and other people. Everyone around the world understands the importance of borders and how why it's good to have them. Until recently, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, this madness started where borders are something, like a luxury, we shouldn't have them. And the same people advocating for no border control or, hashtag no borders are the same people advocating for socialism. Which is you're basically combining two things that can't exist together at the same time.
Yeah. But the thing with, okay, so what can Europe do from a very pragmatic perspective to prevent jihadi terror, yeah?
Basically, yes.
Okay, yeah. Definitely. We should be watching mosques like a hawk. We should have Arabic speakers who are not Muslims, not Arabic, Western-trained Arabic speakers to go into these mosques and analyze the literature that they're giving out. Imam Tweedy pointed this out. He was saying that you've got the black flag of Al-Qaeda being sold in the markets, and they're doing much worse in the mosques. And I actually met an ex-Muslim at the meetup who was telling me, look, man, you have to understand the sort of things they say in these mosques when you're not around. You have to check their literature. Certain mosques, not all of them, obviously, but there are a certain number of them, usually foreign funded, that have all of this radical anti-Western the essentially Wahhabist literature it's essentially all pro-jihad. And so, people are reading this, and individual preachers are radicalizing people, like in this case of like Andy Chowdhury and the Finsbury Park gang, which are all gone now, but 10 years ago, this was a problem that nobody knew how to deal with. And you're going to see the same thing repeating. So yeah, we should be watching the mosques like hawks, basically. Honestly, I would even go as far as to outlaw certain strains of Islam being preached.
Well, I was just going to ask that. Like, how would you feel about Wahhabism and Salafism being outlawed?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. In the same way, I'd be fine with some death cult or just like communism being outlawed. Yeah, okay. If your philosophy is going to end up for you calling for people to be killed, then I don't care. I don't think that's something that should be allowed. And I don't like banning things, But especially in the case of Wahhabism and the jihadis, it's once they end up believing this stuff, man, it's really hard to deprogram them.
By the way, anyone that's like having a talk with someone that's progressive and they will immediately go like, oh, do you think all Muslims, blah, blah, blah. You should start, well, what do you think about Wahhabism or what do you think about Salafism? Because when you go like in depth, they don't even know what you're talking about, right? And that just mind fucks them. It's like, well, Wahhabism, teaches about the jihad and blah, blah, blah. Would you be okay with banning that sect? And it's also interesting for non-progressives, like people like who follow our channels. They probably don't know. The overwhelming vast majority of terrorist attacks in the West are done by Sunnis, not Shias, not Kurds, by Sunnis.
No, I don't think there are any Shia terror attacks in the West. The Shia terror is basically all political. It's basically anti-Israel. It's not some sectarian like the Sunni stuff.
Exactly. So when you have like the discussion about, oh, do you think all Muslims? No, just the Sunnis. The ones that believe in Wahhabism fervently. Those are
even then, that's a tiny minority of the Sunnis as well.
Yeah,
a lot of them are like Sufis or they just. I was looking at the Pew statistics on this the other day. A lot of them. In fact, let me just get them up. I'll find them. You guys carry on talking. Sorry.
Okay, I think I would even suggest going a slight bit further. Not only should the police have access to the literature and also have access to the sermons, I think that they should mount CCTV cameras inside of the mosques at this point. Egypt and Saudi Arabia has already done this, and it has decreased terrorism in these areas. Because the police now literally has insight directly into the mosques. They can have video recordings of the sermons, they can pass them by their own experts and see if there's any hint of extremism, or if they're saying anything that might be interpreted as an encouragement to attack the society around them.
Yeah, and in order for not to be called racist, because that's the first thing they will do, is you would name it like the Saudi law or the Egyptian law. That's how I would present it to the public. Because then people are like, what do you mean the Saudi law? Well, here in Saudi Arabia, they have like cameras in mosques and whatever. And if why don't you have cameras in Christian churches? By all means, I don't care. I put them wherever you want. Put them at atheist conventions. I don't care. I mean, as long as people aren't doing anything that's, illegal. I know this argument is being made like, oh, well, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, you shouldn't be afraid. But the problem with this is that it has gotten to the point where there was like one terrorist attack per day during Ramadan in the European Union. And my question is like, why the fuck do I even know it's Ramadan?
Yeah. Right. Okay. So just getting back to this, what they consider themselves to be. Christ, I'm probably looking at the wrong one, actually. No, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'll be back with you in a second.
Well, yeah, no, because I do think that this might be a somewhat draconian measure.
I have it now. Well, I mean, if Saudi Arabia are doing it, it probably is a draconian measure. But at the end of the day, if they're doing it because they feel it's necessary and they're the ones who are most intimately familiar with their faiths, being the key proselytizers of Wahhabism across the world, then maybe we should listen to them.
Do give me a link, and I'll link the study in the description of the video.
Yeah. It's Pew's polling again. Right. Okay. So the sectarian affiliation of Muslims, right? So the options they've got are Sunni, Shia, something else, which will include Sufism and various other sort of esoteric sects, maybe Druze as well. I don't know. but then you've got the category of just a Muslim. So it's kind of like when Christians, most Protestant Christians probably don't even know they're Protestant. Most of them just say, I'm just Christian, because they're not really that practicing. And it's amazing how many people outside of the Middle East consider themselves to be just a Muslim. Like in Kazakhstan, Albania, Kosovo, Indonesia, Mali, Bosnia, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Russia, like between 74 and 45% of Muslims in those countries just say, I'm just a Muslim. They don't have a sectarian identity, which is interesting.
So you're kind of suggesting that they might not have a proper understanding of Islam, maybe?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, but it's not to say they're not Muslims, though, because, loads of Christians have a very poor understanding of Christianity.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Most Christians.
I do perhaps
How many read the Bible? Like there is that quote saying towards the end where Jesus says, "Sell your cloak and buy a sword." And everyone that is a Christian will say, yeah, Jesus was a peaceful dude. But if you look at that quote, it's like, okay, so Jesus himself was in favor of violence in certain extreme measures. But most Christians don't know that because they don't read the Bible. And I think a lot of Muslims are the same. Like if they don't read the Quran, they don't practice.
But even if they do read the Quran, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be sectarian. They'll have a sect. They if they don't know, then they'll read the Quran, they'll read the Hadiths, and they'll say, well, I'm a Muslim because I've read these things. They don't realize that there are ideological interpretations that they can fit into.
Yes.
The difference between Sunni and Shia, there probably are articles of faith that are different, but I'm not even aware of them. As far as I can tell, it's just political differences.
There was at the beginning, and sorry, after this, I'll let the owner of the channel talk. It's at the beginning when Muhammad died, some tribes, from what I understand, wanted to do things democratically and vote, while others were supporting.
Oh no, I think you're thinking the Khazarites. The Sunni Shia split is about the succession, and it was whether Ali should have been next, and the Shias believe he should have been, and he wasn't, and there we go. Now you have the Sunni Shia split, and then I believe Ali, I think it was the same Ali, ended up becoming the caliph, and he ended up settling a civil war without bloodshed, and the Khazarites were furious. They were like, no, these are all apostates and they have to die. And then they started, they're called the secessionists, basically, and they started a nice ISIS-style civil war and cleansing and screaming, right, none of this is real Islam, blah, 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 like the familiar tune to which we understand today. But they did have some weirdly democratic and egalitarian ideas. They just were like ISIS.
It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, it is. I need to read more into the Khazarites, but I just read a thing on some university website about them. But it was really interesting.
Basically, I do think that one of the main problems about doing a lot of these actions will be that it will affect the overwhelming majority of people be affected by CCTV cameras in mosques, by going through their literature, is the non-extremists, just the people that consider themselves Muslims because, they've read a little bit about it, they think it sounds okay, and they want to be a Muslim. But while I'm not particularly fond of the idea of victimizing people who probably don't even know why they're being victimized in this case, I would like to see this as a bit of a costs versus benefits scenario. And I think the cost here is relatively minor. Okay, you get videotaped while you're at a sermon. Alright, that's a fairly small sacrifice, everything considered. But in all due likelihood, it will make our society safer. So I'd say that was worth it.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I don't like monitoring and all that anyway, but it just seems that we're in the point where we don't have a choice.
Well, it's a church. It's a public place. It's not like you're monitoring someone at home.
Actually, they're privately owned. They're private institutions.
Well, they don't pay taxes, so at least they can do it.
Yeah, that's because they're religious institutions.
Here's the thing that I don't get.
I'm fine with it. Don't get me wrong.
Shouldn't the imams be the first to want this? It's yes, by all means. We have nothing to hide.
I understand the counter argument because it is an act of faith. You are being videotaped in a very, like, many people consider this to be a very private moment, a very important moment to them. So I could understand why this could be seen as an intrusion into that, I guess.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, do you know what the alternative would be? Just hire a guy that, goes to the church. Like, like an undercover policeman. Like that's how they would do it before the cameras were invented. You just go there like a normal person who's there to practice his faith, and you just listen to what you're hearing, and that's it. Like, if you don't want videotapes, that would definitely be the alternative. And how are you going to stop?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that either. Like mystery shoppers, but for mosques.
Yeah, it's just more expensive, basically, to do that.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not against CCTV. I'm not against investigations, whatnot, because we know that these people are radicalizing young men.
I think that's perhaps the biggest problem. Yeah, go on, V.
Yeah.
Apparently, like they do it like the alt-right. It's like, don't you think Western civilization is dying? That there's too many problems. Blah 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 blah. I'm not kidding. It's like
I believe you.
Yeah, if you listen to an imam like trying to radicalize a young person, he's using the exact 100% arguments.
Don't you agree that the West is full of cucks?
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't you think the men are too weak and that women have too much power and that women are destroying civilization by the fact that they're allowed to vote? And I was like, what?
Pretty well.
What the?
Well, brother makes a good point.
There were even memes that I found some memes on the Twitter. I'm really upset that I don't have my thingy organized so I could put them. But it had like this thing where it was like the West and it was like degenerate and crumbling apart and garbage everywhere, and like the man in the West was sick and dying. And then you had like the East, which was like Allah, and it was really, wealthy and very well. And like this Muslim man was offering a hand to the Westerner that was like falling down and sick, trying to get him.
Honestly, it's only a matter of days before the alt-right convert to Islam. No, I was in fact I've got it here. The Wahhabis basically think that the alt-right are a bunch of cucks, even at their most alt-right. One of them, literally, I'll read you a quote. A Wahhabi scholar declared that any man who allows women in his family to work in healthcare, where men openly mix with women, effectively making them prostitutes, in his mind, was a youth, which is a cuckold without self-respect. So the alt-right are pretty cucked.
Well, I guess that makes my cousin a prostitute then. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got many friends who are prostitutes, in fact. But it's not just that. I mean, like, anyone who works in any industry where men and women mix, they're cucks.
That's a very nuanced position, I gotta say.
Yes, it is. It's nuance worthy of the Young Turks.
I'm sorry to say
they talk about this all the time, so it's fine.
I know I'm horrible for making the parenthesis, but since you mentioned the Young Turks, did you notice they gave a nudge to Kyrgyzstanis?
Yeah, we were just talking about that before we did this, but we shouldn't go too far off topic, should we?
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to say so.
Yeah.
Okay, so surveillance sounds good. Probably a good idea. Probably wouldn't cause too many problems. How about one step further, then? Deportation for crimes, and perhaps deportation for those who either refuse to integrate into our society, or for those who spread, shall we say, hateful messages and hate crimes?
Okay. Well, I'm more than happy to agree to deport foreigners who have immigrated and committed a crime. I'm fine with that. But the problem is many of these people are like second and third generation and don't have another place to go. This is where they are born. This is the only place they have citizenship, and so deportation simply isn't an option.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. The thing is, first of all, the word deportation, as Sargon said, can only be applied to either foreign people that aren't in your country as citizens or people with dual citizenship. I hear on the internet a lot of people that are ignorant of the law and they never read a law book in their life who are trying to deport citizens. It doesn't matter. Like, citizenship is a contract between an individual and the state. I know some people try to have nationalism tied to a race or an ethnicity, but it doesn't work that way, right? So as long as the person is a citizen, then it has a contract that with the state, and he has to provide certain duties, and the state has to provide certain benefits for him. Now, in the international law with refugees and whatnot, it even states, because a lot of people are like, oh, is their right to be in this country and whatnot because they're refugees. It states that a country has to allow refugees in, but the moment the refugee commits a serious offense, he can be deported back into his country, and this is set by international law. As well as if the refugees start banding together and make like separatist movement in the country, or like things like demanding Sharia law, that is ground for deporting them, according to international law. And you won't see leftists and no border activists ever mentioning this because, again, probably they don't read the legislation, or it's not in their interest to actually say this. And the person who is afraid, it's like in his country he can be killed because he's maybe of a different faith, like he's a Shia running away from a Sunni country or something, right? He says like his life is in danger because he's fleeing war. It's in his interest not to commit crimes. I mean, it's not hard. I haven't done it. Just don't fucking commit the crime. What's the problem?
Yeah, no. Obviously, immigrant. I'm talking about first generation. I don't even really know if we. Personally, I think we could maybe only deport people if we haven't granted them citizenship yet, because that, of course, depends on if we have gone, okay, yeah, you're a genuine refugee, here's your citizenship to this nation, but he still has a dual citizenship. I would probably say that at that point he should be safe, because at that point he's one of ours.
You can take away his citizenship. There are certain times where you can nullify the citizenship, but it's very difficult, and it must be like extremely serious offenses, and it's usually it's always for people who aren't a citizen when they were born in that country. So like if I, for instance, go to Britain and I get a British citizenship, there are certain things that I could do which are probably really severe that would cause the British government to take away my citizenship.
Okay, but I think I'm assuming we're talking about pretty nasty things like treason, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean it depends from country to country. I would have to study the law, but in my country, I think it's acts against the Romanian government. Sabotaging the economy, espionage, that kind of thing. But I assume like if you're planning a terrorist attack or you're part of a terrorist cell, then that would be grounds.
All right.
Well, I mean, I'd have no problem with that, but I don't think it's. I mean, there are more important and like wide-reaching things that we can do. I think.
I think our going like on things that are really okay with things that get more and more authoritarian.
Yeah, if anything, I'm just looking at what the state could do directly in this case.
Probably go Japan on their ass is the last thing,
And what about integration then? Because that's a far more complicated question. Can we integrate them at all? And if we can, how would we do it? Like you mentioned, Sargon, there are tons of different sects or cults or different understandings of the Quran, different ways to read it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Would that perhaps be relevant to integration? Like teach them, actually literally teach Muslims about Islam?
Yeah, that might actually be a good idea. There are definitely strains of Islam that are worth promoting over others. There are pacifistic strains of Islam, believe it or not. I can't remember the name of the particular sect.
The one with nature that believes in nature and stuff.
Yeah, the particular sect of Islam. I'll look it up afterwards. But they're just pacifists, and it's like, okay, I
think I know the one. Yeah,
that's the kind of Muslim I could promote. A pacifist one. And
sorry, if you had the indoctrinator.
Well, if we're gonna have to indoctrinate them into something, I mean, if someone's going to indoctrinate them into something, it'd be better for us to have. I mean, like the Sufis are probably the least worrying because they're very mystic oriented, and so it's more about like the journey of self-discovery than enforcing Sharia everywhere. So I mean I would be more comfortable with that. Regular Sunnis, I think, couldn't. They're the people who are actually susceptible to radicalization because they essentially agree on most points, and then you just need the argument. And I'm not suggesting that Sunnis are suddenly going to start becoming jihadis or anything, but it's people who are Sunnis that are in the in the right pool, I guess. And people who aren't, I mean, like Shias, we don't really need to worry about. But it's the Sunnis we do. Sunni preachers, especially. Actually, you can probably hear my son banging the door because he wants.
He doesn't like Sunni preachers. He's already like special.
Well, I've got him well trained. You know, I mean, he's not gay, so he does think that death is the sentence. It's for compassionate reasons, though. Fuck's it, I'm gonna go kick his ass.
Compassionate reasons.
For compassionate reasons, I agree. I assume Sargon, yes.
Yeah, for compassionate reasons. Yeah,
Gonna kick his ass.
I'll be back in a minute.
It is out of compassion that I'm going to kick Daniel's ass. Out of compassion.
Now that is a little bit interesting, though. Like, okay, maybe that should be a part of integration. Literally teach them about their own religion. Like, okay, this is, you know, a mosque where the people are not crazy. Go there.
Well, no, it's. I think the model of Switzerland should be the one imposed. You need to integrate if you want to go into another nation, right? Why the fuck would you go in another nation if you're not integrating? So basically, when you get a normal citizenship, like without the open border madness that we have now, so if you want to immigrate to Romania, you'd have to learn the national anthem, you'd have to learn about Romania history, and then you'd have to like learn about the cultures, the customs, the things that we do here, the things that we find acceptable, and then you have to take a quiz just to see that the person memorized them, right? But this bare minimum isn't met with the open border policy.
Sorry about that. So what's not met with the open border policy?
The principle of someone having to learn about the customs, the culture, the history of the nation he is going towards.
Oh yeah.
So if I would go to Britain, apparently there's like a test, a quiz that I would have to take, and they ask you about, you know, the history of Britain, stuff like that. And it should be like, okay, so you come from a Muslim nation because you're seeking asylum or whatnot, but here's the thing, right? This is how we do it here. We're a secular nation, right? People consider this more important than that. I think, you know, that has been lost with the open border policy.
Well, yeah.
I do think there are still stuff like that, but honestly, I don't think that's a really good way of integrating people, because at that point, you're basically just teaching them, you know, have a pop quiz, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that convinces them.
I guess another way that would work would be to avoid creating enclaves by separating them throughout the nation.
Yeah, basically, at some point, we're probably going to have to separate them. Just forcibly move families around the country.
You don't have to forcibly move them around.
I suppose you can incentivize them, you know.
No, yeah, but when they come to England, for instance, or, you know, they're seeking refuge or whatnot, okay, so you're going to stay in this house. Yeah, you can just give them houses in different areas, in different cities, you know.
Yeah, but the problem is it's way too late for that. You have to understand, we've got like 3.5 million Muslims here who haven't done that.
Not true, but I do believe we need to do this anyway, because it's like, okay, the problem is already here. Yeah, I agree, but
yeah,
we do need to prevent the problem from at the very least increasing.
Do you know what would be the best way to fix all this, Art? I think the best way to fix all this is what I experienced in Luton. Luton, how is it pronounced?
Luton.
Luton, okay. Just apply the law. The cops actually did their job, because I went there, you know, trying to get a video for my channel and be like really, you know, abused by a Muslim or something, because I thought, okay, that's going to give me views. So I took a bottle of beer and walked the streets of Luton, and it was around 6 to 7 p.m. Right, it was dark when Tommy Robinson said that I should be afraid, and no one like even looked weird at me. No one told me anything, right? And I walked in front of like store owners in neighborhoods. And then I went into this Muslim bakery when I was when I was really tired of doing this, and I spoke with the guy that was serving, and I asked him, you know, I tried to pretend that I don't know anything about this, and I was like, look, I'm a tourist here. I really like this place, but I understand that there are people that don't like alcohol. They don't like naked women. Is there anything that I should know that I shouldn't do, because I don't want to offend anyone, you know, it's not my country, I don't want to upset anyone? And he said that no, that was a thing that happened because BBC made the article about it, and the people operating the Sharia patrols were arrested by the police, and that was a problem that was then, and now they don't have that issue. Like now people can do what they want. And he said that he hated those people because they were threatening his store as well. They were threatening his store because, first of all, they wanted him to not allow women that aren't dressed okay or discriminate on his customers, right? And the fact that he was talking with the police was also something that he shouldn't do. So those criminal gangs, basically, that were the police of vice and virtue, they were doing like vigilante police, upset the Muslim population as well. And they were mostly young people, right? The guy that I spoke with was middle-aged, right? He was starting to get a little bit of gray hair. And it was like quite interesting, right? So you have a country like like Britain, which had a problem with this, but it seems that the police cracked down on it, and now it's not a problem anymore. They apply the law.
Well, I agree. I think the law should be enforced equally, and I do think that people not actually applying the law as it should be. I mean, I said this in the original videos I did about Rotherham. Effectively, this is our problem because we allowed this to go on. It's, okay, yeah, they wanted to do it, but I mean, I imagine a lot fewer of them would have done anything had they known that the police were going to come down on them like a fucking sack of bricks. But the fact that we were so permissive of it and go, oh, we don't want to be racist, it's encouragement, it's incitement almost.
Yeah, I know I'm going to sound like a gypsy, but if I knew that I can commit any crime and no one would touch me because they would say that they're racist towards Romanians or whatever, I would start committing crimes, right? Now, I wouldn't like go into someone's house to steal things, but I would do like small crimes that, I could live with. Like, for instance, I wouldn't pay my taxes. Maybe I would take the bus without paying the ticket. Like, there would be things that I could do, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to live with this, no problem.
Yeah, but eventually your morality would end up changing. You would find yourself less concerned. I mean, you would think of the people who weren't being treated the same as you under the law as just being, well, they're the lower caste. That's just the way things are with them. You would think it were completely normal and natural, and you would find it odd if suddenly the rules applied to you.
Yeah, I would feel discriminated.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, and that is like the SJW conception of what privilege is as well. They're always like, oh yeah, when you lose your privilege, it feels like you're being oppressed, and it's like, yeah, but men don't actually have the privileges you're claiming. That's the difference.
I mean, imagine having a group of friends, maybe like 10 or 15, and all of them can do crimes without breaking the law, and you're suddenly going to talk about it. And one day, like, you are going to be arrested for a crime that your friends did, and they got away with it. You're probably going to go to your friends and go like, oh, well, they treated me unfairly. Like, you guys did the crime and the police was there and they didn't act. I remember it was a case in Romania quite recently. There was this guy who walked on the grass and everyone else was walking on the grass. And the police, just arrived there and they just singled him out. Like, they had to pick someone on the crowd. And he was like complaining. He's like, why are you picking on me? I'm a criminal, blah, blah, blah. I have a family now. It's like they're here. And it was like the mainstream media made a huge case about it. But this is like what I want to say. It's when the laws don't apply to people, they will feel discriminated, as you said.
Yeah, that's a really good point, V. I really do think that we do need to start applying many of these wonderful hate speech and anti-discrimination laws we've made for ourselves to people who are not white, along with the actual laws of our nations.
This is funny that you brought it up. Do you know the anti-SJWs or the Skeptic Plus community? They actually suggest that the law shouldn't apply to people. Like, we shouldn't try to apply the laws to these people because then we become like them. We become like SJWs by suggesting that these laws be applied to everyone else.
How?
It's basically like you're a hypocrite. Like, if you don't agree with the law, why do you want other people to be subjected to that law?
Because it's the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't agree with it, so why are you enforcing it?
Because if you start arbitrarily not enforcing your laws just because you personally disagree with them, then that undermines all of your laws because you'll find people who disagree with all of them.
Yeah, I mean, listen to the thing that the Thunderfoot was saying about, the case with you and Anita Sarkeesian. He was complaining, like, why are you trying to apply harassment and bullying laws to her? Because you're against harassment and bullying laws to begin with.
But I'm in favor of laws. And if that's the law, then that's the law. And it should be enforced across everyone egalitarian, in an egalitarian fashion.
Are are going to be like this badass policeman that goes like, "Sir, you don't agree with it." It's like, "Yeah, I don't." Well, the law is the law.
Well, I'm not the law, but yeah, no, I think that the rules should be applied evenly, and if they don't like them, then we should talk about changing them.
Yeah, I mean,
think there's
that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you can argue against a law all you want. You can give arguments for why it should be changed. You can disagree with it vocally, but at the end of the day, as long as it is the law, you're gonna have to, well, abide by it, unfortunately.
So you're the law is the law, Arch, as well, eh?
Yes, I am.
Well, they're basically saying that if you don't agree with people being beheaded for being witches in Saudi Arabia, if you're in Saudi Arabia, would you accuse someone of being a witch? And my answer to Thunderfoot was yes. If a woman starts casting spells around me and she starts conjuring shit, I would probably.
Holy shit! I've actually found a witch.
Shit. I mean, clearly their laws are there for a reason, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hardly the same sort of thing either.
No, but honestly,
not like someone's life was in danger. For a
well, no,
start.
but think about it. Like, if a woman who is very capable at conjuring spells would choose Saudi Arabia as a place to visit, and she would decide there is the place that she wants to conjure Beelzebub or whatever, and the police advice and virtues managed to counterspell her and then arrest her, then yeah, I wouldn't feel bad for her in that situation. So Thunderfoot, if you're watching, right, I think I answered your question.
Honestly, I think it's a ridiculous question either way. It's like, do you agree with all laws? Okay, so Saudi Arabia, you know, a violent dictatorship, basically, with the police
I may well have different opinions about Saudi laws. But yeah, in Britain, where we're a democracy and we get to elect our lawmakers, yes, you have to obey the law.
Yeah.
Well, for instance, like I hate some speeding laws, right? I mean, there are some really ridiculous laws in Romania that just limits the speed limit to just ridiculous amounts. And if I would see the police, you know, speeding there, I would take a picture. Like, what the fuck? You know, why not? But they're complaining about, I think, is the rules for radicals from saying that you should make them live by their own standards. And this is what they're complaining. And I think it's because it's effective. You know, like if I would want in Saudi Arabia for people to stop banning alcohol as a law, if you could find like the people who make the law, like part of the Saudi family drinking, and you distribute pictures of them drinking, I think that would be very effective.
Oh, hugely. Making Alinsky Rule 4, make them, I think it's Rule 4, make them live up to their own
You know
rules.
the numbers, Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, yeah.
Do you know even
stuff.
like what page is it on?
I don't know what page it's on, I'd have to look. But it's important stuff, and it's how you win a culture war, basically, without ever firing a shot or breaking a rule. And that's the most important thing, not to break the rules.
Yeah, it's like don't commit criminal activity.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to use the rules against them. In fact, that's how you're going to beat them. But yeah.
Yeah. No, but think about it from anyone else's perspective. Like, you know, in this case, Anita Sarkeesian's perspective or whoever, like, if the rules don't apply to you, there's no reason why you don't want them more draconic, why you don't want even more rules, and why you don't want to be even more hateful. But the moment the rules apply to you, it's like, holy shit, okay, so I have these harassment and bullying laws, and now they apply to me. Well, I can't harass and bully people, but this is how I operate my business, so maybe we should get these rules to go away.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way to create the political capital to change the laws. Because these things only change when a lot of people are pissed off about them.
Regardless, I don't think there's any real point in it, because we are obviously talking about Europe here. We've been talking about Europe from the beginning, so we're talking about civilized nations, well, except for Romania, obviously, but, you know, everyone needs their black sheep.
Hey, we don't have Muslims here. I mean, we do. You know, I actually noticed this. We have, like, a really big Muslim population in my town, because they come here to study. They're not citizens, right? So they don't go up on census, but I do see them. They don't dress the women in like the whole funeral garment thing. I mean, you just see women covering their head up, and I did see this in London as well. But you never see like the whole hijab. Like when I saw the first one, I was like, "Wow, they're real! Oh, the beekeeper suit! Oh."
You know, they're super rare because it's what's the actual Quran interpretation? It's just be modest.
Be modest,
yeah. Be modest and cover your breast.
Oh, there you go. Well.
You know, it's actually funny. Like I said this on my channel as well. Like they're modest, but they have like the funeral garment, the burqa, and then they have like the most expensive purse, like the most expensive one you can imagine.
Yes.
And if you look at the shoes, they're also like really expensive, and like they usually have like an iPhone in hand. And it's like, okay, so you're modest by dressing up, but at the same time, like you're showing up, all this display of wealth.
Yeah. I tell you, I bet eye makeup is a really big deal in Saudi Arabia among the women. Because if that's all you've got to see people with, I bet you've got to spend a lot of time. That's all they're going to see of you. I bet you spend a lot of time on that.
Oh, my friend who's from Malmo, she said that she had an acquaintance that was Muslim. And apparently, like underneath the burqa, they do have like really expensive clothes, and they go to these parties where only the women meet. And then they can take off the burqa and they like show off to one another, trying to make each other jealous.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. It's kind of fascinating to me because it's like, okay, then at that point, why are you using this thing? And you usually hear, oh, it's my choice. Is it really? I question that.
Yeah, it's just like Anita Sarkeesian saying, oh, the patriarchy makes women wear makeup and hoop earrings. And then she wears makeup and hoop earrings. It's like, why are you agreeing with the patriarchy? So you're a feminist.
No, I think this is against women nature, I mean, everywhere around the world, women do like to dress up, women do like to show off. It's a woman thing. It's not race or ethnicity, right? But this ideology goes against that. And I think, like, deep inside, you can still see that they're women, despite the ideology, like, trying to get them not to be women.
What? Islam? I don't think it's not trying to stop them being women.
No, it's by covering themselves up and, like, stop allowing them to...
Yeah, but that's for their own protection. That's not to stop them being women.
That's just so they won't get raped.
Like, what I said is, like, if you're dressing up in a uniform, you can't show that you're pretty, you can't really show... And this is how they're doing it, like... Without even realizing, they will just show off to other women.
Yeah, but that's so a man doesn't rape them.
Yeah, I know.
It's not that they don't want to do all the women.
Yeah, I know, because men just are like animals. They can't control themselves.
Apparently Arab men are, yeah.
Well, yeah, Muslim men, yeah.
Yeah.
Not all, hashtag.
Yeah.
No, I'm curious if, like, a Muslim man goes next to a falafel shop and he's really hungry, like, is he just going to take a brick? I mean, the falafel shop would need a burqa equivalent. To protect themselves from hungry men from vandalizing the place.
Well, it's not quite the same urge, is it?
Well, what? Being hungry, starving? Oh, I think it is. You can't live without sex. You can't live without eating.
That's true. Good point. Well made. We better watch our falafel shops.
On that point, what about the various headscarf bans that we've seen popping up across Europe?
We shouldn't ban anything. It's illiberal. It doesn't change a thing.
I disagree. I will tell you why.
I'm going to view on this one.
So I think in public places they should be banned, right? Especially in a country like France that's secular. You can't have a rosemary on the beach. So why are you having like this?
You can't have a rosemary on the beach.
You can't. It's a religious symbol. You're not allowed to display it
really?
public place.
On the beach, really?
Yeah. Same with a crucifix. You're not allowed to have it.
That's harsh.
Where have you heard this?
From French people.
Okay.
It's a secular nation. That's why they ban it. That's why they have a ban. Do you think they would have a ban only on the burqa without banning everything else that's religious?
Well, I hadn't really thought, I guess.
Let me ask Google, because this sounds incredible.
Yeah, I have real trouble believing it.
Well, I'm willing to stand corrected if you find like any information against it, but I checked myself and I remember that this is the case. Like, you're talking about France, so if they have a rule against burqa, it's not against the burqa per se, it's against religious...
but wasn't it the burkini in particular?
No, they ban everything, right? So everything that's religious in a public place, the bitch is a public place, the burkini is a religious thing, so that's why they ban it.
See, I would disagree on the public place. I don't give a shit what people wear in public, but I would like to see all religious paraphernalia outlaw when it comes to stuff like going to school or going to work.
Oh, yeah.
School is public, work is public.
Yeah, but it's not a public place. I mean, public place could be just being outside your door, you know?
Yeah, well, the thing with, I don't know about in your countries, but in Britain, kids have school uniforms.
Yeah, we're not quite that Nazi.
Yeah, but they would make a uniform just for Muslims. You know how it's.
Yeah, I know, and I would be against that. I mean, maybe wearing a headscarf would be acceptable, but
okay. So why I'm for banning this, right? Why I'm for banning the burqa?
Just a general ban. you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about the burqa itself. First, two reasons, right? First of all, the Sharia police in places where they do exist, they do attack women who don't wear it. And
but
if
I
no
don't want
woman,
to base our laws on what someone else does somewhere else.
in that case, we'll just arrest the people attacking them instead. Sounds
right?
easier.
But the thing is, if no women can wear it, the fatwa does say that if you're in a country that doesn't allow these things, it's okay not to wear it.
I don't think it's a fatwa.
There is. I checked it out.
There is a fatwa, is there?
Yeah, there is a fatwa from Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
talking about.
The thing is, fatwas are dubious.
Well, it's a Wahhabist fatwa, so.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people won't listen to that.
Right, but the main reason that I think they should be banned is because when a refugee comes to Britain, she stops being a Muslim. She becomes a British citizen as well, right? I think that should be the overall.
Well, on paper, yeah.
Yeah, and in a country like Britain, we don't discriminate based on gender.
You visited once, and now it's we don't discriminate.
No, sorry, it's just the yeah.
I know, I'm just teasing.
But the thing is, right? The thing is, it's based on a superstition that forces women to be oppressed. This is exactly what the feminists are saying about internalized misogyny, and in this case, is actually a true case of internalized misogyny. Like it's an actual thing that's happening in an actual misogynistic culture. And it's based on superstition. It has like no real reason. It's like, okay, no, psychologists know that you will not be raped if you don't cover up. And we also know cases where women did cover up in their country, like Saudi Arabia, and like 40 Minutes, I think it's called, the documentary, they show that they still get raped. So it's not working to stop rape. It's just a thing that oppresses women.
Yeah, but what does it actually solve if we were to ban any form of clothing? Just whatever you like. Just banning, what does that solve?
Yeah, but this particular line of clothing, we know the reasons for it. We know that it's oppressive.
I think that's the problem, because, I mean, you and I can know, but how the hell do we actually prove it? Because all the woman needs to say is, no, I'm wearing this as a choice.
Yeah, and you can't turn around and tell her that she's not.
Well, yeah, no, if you're wearing this as a choice, there are plenty of countries that allow you to do that, but here in secular, nations...
She might have been born here.
Well, I guess she's going to have to be oppressed with this inconvenience. It's an inconvenience.
But what does it solve?
Well, you can wear it in your house. Well, first of all...
No, V, answer my question. What does it solve if we ban it?
The hegemony of the state over religion.
What? The state does have hegemony over religion here.
Well, apparently not when it comes to this thing. Like,
Hang on.
Right.
Okay. For a start, as you already pointed out, the abaya, the burqa, they're not actually parts of the religion. They're a response to a demand from the religion.
Yeah. And I will tell you something, right?
No, saying it doesn't that doesn't make it go away, right? What that means is that, okay, say you ban the burqa, okay, but they'll find something else with which to cover themselves.
Well, if a lot of people start covering themselves with that something else, I mean, okay, first of all,
don't go off top, because this is the point, right? And okay, let's say we ban it. What does that fix?
Well, it fixes the fact that women will not be oppressed by being forced to wear the beekeeper.
Oh, they're still going to be oppressed. Now they're just going to be pissed off because they can't be proper Muslims in their own minds. Now they're going to feel targeted as well. They're going, well, you didn't ban anyone else. You just targeted Muslim women. And do you think the men are going to just let that go? They're going to be like, fucking hell, the government's enacting policy against our women.
Hold on. The law wouldn't be like that. It would be no religious items in public institutions.
Yeah, okay, but
right. So now, how are you?
Hang on. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that Trump's Muslim ban wasn't technically a Muslim ban,
right?
But there's still a lot of spirit of the thing rather than letter of the thing involved in this, and either way, it's going to be used as a propaganda tool. It is going to make these Muslim communities feel like they're being persecuted by the government.
Don't count to Britain. You can't wear your burkini here.
Yeah, but the problem is that they are already here. So that doesn't do anything good.
As you said, if they're going to start doing as a propaganda tool, and then they're going to riot or whatnot, more reason to arrest and deport. I mean,
We've already been over this. You were the one making the anti.
Yeah, but not all of them.
argument.
I don't think. Here's the thing, right? I don't think British Muslims who are grown in Britain are going to be the ones rioting. It's
Wrong.
usually the refugees.
Fucking wrong.
I suspect it will be actually British people rioting, because now you've essentially given them a justifiable cause to riot against.
You're just wrong as well. Dr. Lehman had the stats for all of this. Third generation Muslims are really, really Muslim. And they basically they're afraid of losing their Muslim heritage because they grow up English effectively, they sound English, they think English, and then they realize that they've got this whole family tradition and a family they're very close to that they don't really relate to because they don't identify as Muslim too strongly, and so they find themselves being drawn into the identity of Muslim and becoming very radicalized a lot of the time. So it's you'd be surprised, man. I would have thought that by third generation it would probably just been bred out effectively. The kids are like, nah, fuck it, I'm not interested. But apparently it's not what you think. And there is no deporting these people. Yeah, there is no deporting.
Here's another rule, right? Here's another reason for the rule. You can't really say how many women that wear the burqa don't want to wear the burqa compared to how many that wear it do want to wear it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would rather err on the side of inconveniencing the ones that want to wear it.
I would rather err on the side of the state not banning articles of clothing just because it doesn't like them.
Yeah, but you do understand this is not just an article of clothing; it's also a statement.
Yeah, but you don't get
It's ideological.
No, listen, you don't get to make that decision. That's the problem.
Well, if I would be in Parliament and I would be able to make this law, I would be the one making the decision.
Okay, but I mean, it doesn't solve any problems, and it just makes you new enemies. It's the worst tactical maneuver, and it's illiberal. I don't think the government should be able to ban any kind of clothing that you want to wear.
Well, Sargon, there is the saying of you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Yeah, I know, but you're not making an omelet. You're just throwing them on the floor.
I think we already have an example of this, though. The burkini. What happened with the burkini, which is essentially what you're suggesting, V. And the only thing that actually happened was that there was a massive public backlash against this because this was a clear and obvious case of the state
I agree.
suppressing
And you know what happened? They still banned the burkini.
I don't think they
Doesn't
did.
mean
Did they?
no, I don't think they did either.
Is the
But
burkini
No, in
ban
France, it's still
on?
illegal. The burkini is still illegal in France.
I'm just going to check that now since you've said it.
No, it is suspended.
Did they? When?
2016, 26th of August, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't think they banned it either.
I know. I'm pretty sure I remember that after the massive backlash, they went like, "Well, this isn't worth it."
Yeah.
Well, this is why. This is why it's bad that Le Pen didn't win, because she wouldn't want to have the break.
But I wouldn't agree with her on that anyway. Again, it doesn't fix anything.
Okay, listen. If it's a choice, like you say, why is it that every single time you see Western diplomats and Western people going to Saudi Arabia or talking to a mufti or whatnot, they cover the women's heads?
Because in Saudi Arabia, it's not a choice. It's
No, it is. It's a choice for diplomats. Hold on. It is a choice.
Yeah, but it's about making sure that the people you're dealing with feel accommodated by you because you're a diplomat.
Oh, I see. And when the people from Saudi Arabia come to the West, do they think...
They're not diplomats.
Let me put it like this, V. Technically speaking, with diplomatic credentials, you could go around shooting people. Technically speaking. But
It's not the
generally
same,
speaking, it's not a good idea.
It's not the same, and you know it. And if you
No, it is the same, because you could break any law. You could technically break any law, but you don't
but you get
do it
punished when you
because
come back
you
to
don't
your country.
want to screw with your own diplomatic credentials. You don't want to, hey, I want to ask you for something, but first I'm going to shit in your law.
No. Listen now. There is a thing about international law saying that it's a crime if it's illegal in both countries, right? So if, for instance, I'm 18 and I go in America and I drink alcohol, it is a crime there. And once they find out I'm Romania and it's legal, they will not prosecute me for it, right? And the case of having a burqa is not illegal in the West for a woman not to wear it. So you wouldn't have your diplomatic status taken away because you refuse to wear it. And we're talking about like people like from Sweden, like prime ministers and not diplomats, but actual state dignitaries.
Yes, and if you're sitting down to negotiate with someone who's a hardcore Islamist and you're a woman, don't you think you've already managed to rile them up pretty badly by representing your country as a female? Wouldn't you want to at least try and ameliorate it a little bit?
See, I don't think those people think like that, number one. And number two, I think what Le Pen did was even better. She just turned around and walked away. You know, and it's like, well, I mean, they have to understand that, like, having a trade agreement isn't a one-way street, right? Both countries benefit from that trade agreement. So if they want to sit on the table, it means they're interested in the trade. And they're dealing with a country that allows women to have equal rights as men, and they have to deal with that, right? That's the reality. And if all the West would do it, then they would obviously have to, you know, deal with it. They wouldn't just be able to isolate themselves. And the thing is, I think Michelle Obama did it, right? She went to Saudi Arabia and didn't cover her head. And most of the social justice warriors weren't even Muslim. They had a fit about it. And I'm sad to say, Arch, but I think you would agree with them in this particular way by the arguments you're putting forward.
No, I'm arguing that if you're a diplomat and you go to a country that requires the uses of a hijab, you'd put on the hijab because it would increase your chances of doing your job.
Well, I mean...
You'd probably end up wearing any sort of, like, native clothing.
No, I agree with this, right? But I'm not talking about just the diplomats. And here I can see Archer's point of view. I'm talking about, you know, state governors, like people who are elected into office and they go there, like Michelle Obama, for instance.
Oh.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of women in Saudi Arabia and Iran and other places who are begging Westerners when they go there to not wear the hijab. There are places where women can choose not to wear the hijab if they're tourists, for instance, and a lot of women just wear the hijab anyway. And they're asked, like, don't do it because it makes our struggle to fight the hijab harder.
Yeah, but these people represent invested activists. They don't necessarily represent the entire population. I mean, I'm sure that lots of Muslim women think it's right that they wear all this stuff that covers them up for their own modesty.
Yeah, I'm sure, but at the same time, we know it's not. I mean, it's a religious superstitious, mate. You're an atheist like myself. You should have the principles that people shouldn't live based on, superstitions that have absolutely no basis in science.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in favor of these things, but I don't get to decide what other people do.
Yeah, but if it's a law that gets rid of that shit, I'm going to support it because
but it doesn't really get rid of it. All it does is it drives it into the person's home and makes them resentful of the government.
Then? Why don't I see it in Romania?
What?
Is there a law against it?
No, but it's the culture. Like, people would make fun of it if they would see it.
Well, yeah, okay, but that's just because you're a different culture. But it doesn't fix anything, so I'd be against it. But
right.
That's...
We should move on, Arch. Like, yeah. We're not going to find common ground.
And I don't want the government telling people we're going to ban that. Why? We've got reasons. Okay.
Yes, I know, Imam Sargon. Calm down.
Seriously, though. Do you want the government to turn around and say, yeah, we've got reasons for banning something you like as well?
When are you opening your mosque, mate?
Exactly. That's the eternal question, isn't it? You may as well just call me a right-winger next. But no, but seriously, it doesn't... And it just targets the community. I don't think it's a worthwhile thing.
Muslims are progressive, mate. This is what I understand.
They're not. That's the thing.
This is what I get. No, don't lie to me. And about the government banning thing, right? So they're banning caning and cunnilingus movies being made, yep. Right? I'm sure we can make an exception and turn a blind eye. You know what? I don't see you doing that. I
bet there's a huge market for burqa porn.
There probably is.
I've never looked it up.
Probably a fetish.
I need to look it up on the RedTube as well, like burqa porn. Like, how do you think? Like, oh my god, that should just sit there, or is there like a room with the tiny window that can...
I actually didn't find as much as I thought I was going to find.
So you're doing this live, eh?
Well, yeah, just having a quick look.
I didn't know there's burqa porn on the lodge.
There isn't yet, but I'm sure I can find something.
Oh,
Arab Muslim woman with burqa
right
fucking. Jesus.
There's probably some magazines that are in the lodge now with the burqa porn, left by Sargon.
Okay, yeah, this is all pretty weird. It's just weirding me out. It's like watching nuns or something. It's like it's freaky. I'll watch it later.
There are things we could do. There are things we should do. Closing the borders, control of the mosques, integration, of course, deportation, potentially. Halting foreign funding to religious institutes.
interesting that you bring this up because I've literally just someone sent me so it's on Al Jazeera, but this is probably true. UK refuses. I love the way I have to say that. UK refuses to publish report on funding of extremism. Home Secretary cites national security reasons for the decision, but critics say it's trying to protect Saudi Arabia. It's obviously trying to protect Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It was only the other day where Theresa May had basically there was a court case, and Theresa May came on. She was all no, there's nothing wrong with us selling arms to Saudi Arabia, and unsurprisingly, the court case no, it's completely legal because it is completely legal. It's just really unethical. So yeah, they're going to absolutely protect the Saudis on this one.
You know what's funny? There was this BBC, if I'm not mistaken, article saying that Saudi Arabia is the #1 export of terrorism in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Probably is, but they're also the #1 exporter of oil.
Why the fuck did they do that? I never understood. It's like, okay, so why are you sending, enemies? So why are you doing quote unquote undercover war with your allies? It's just
okay. Imagine this, right?
Right.
So you're a communist, and you just happen to live in a backwards, poor communist country. Except, turns out you've got loads of oil under the ground, and those filthy capitalists want to buy it. And not only that, because they're buying loads of your oil, if you say, hey, can I spend a lot? I mean, all I'm doing is pulling up black shit out of the ground. So not particularly challenging one. I mean, and they'll fucking give you the technology to do it as well. So you don't even really have to worry about all of this. And basically what happens is into your coffers come billions and billions and billions of dollars. And then they're like, okay, great. This is great. We're going to carry on like this. And they're like, okay, cool. Can we set up a communist propaganda network in your country? And the government's like, yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
As long as the oil keeps flowing.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to make us wealthy, and you're going to allow us to ideologically corrupt your country. That's brilliant. Thank you.
It's mind-baffling when you put it like that, and I think that's exactly what it's going in.
Yeah, that's the Saudi mindset. Okay.
It really is. Oil is our Achilles heel because we cannot live without it, which means that we can't not abide by them. Like, okay, what are we going to do? Invade them. All right. Now we have to occupy Saudi Arabia for the next 50 goddamn years.
Jeez,
fighting another fucking war.
I mean, like, that would be the worst thing in the world. The destabilization of the Saudi monarchy would be awful because then you've got like 20 million jihadis.
Yes, basically we'd have to not only invade the country, because that's the thing, a lot of people go, oh, we can just invade Saudi Arabia. No, we have to stay there because we're going to have to keep producing the oil. Like, invading Saudi Arabia, okay, we could probably beat them in 6 months, but we're going to have to stay there for 20+ years.
You'd never win the peace. You'd never win the peace. You would just be forever fighting an ISIS-style insurgency, but with people who also had a nationalistic agenda as well.
Didn't Russia just carpet bomb the Muslims to oblivion and they won the peace?
Who's the Muslim?
Not really. Like, even in Afghanistan, they couldn't do it properly, and that was the Russians.
The peace is still not won, even though ISIS have lost their territory. They'll just retreat to the hinterlands and carry on producing suicide bombers.
I remember talking with Arch about this, and it's like the reason we keep getting insurgencies is because we're civilized people.
Yes, that's
part of it. We'd be like savages and just, like start beheading and blood on the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah, the thing is, the American idea of hearts and minds doesn't work because these people's hearts and minds are very, very, very different than ours. We go like, hey, we'll give you schools. Yeah, but we don't want schools. We want religious institutes. Okay.
We have madrasas instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting, Arch. Do you know that the most prestigious thing they can be is like Islamic scholar? Like they actually consider that a science.
No, literally, right. When you're saying this, when they say Islamic scholar, just say to yourself, gender studies scholar. That's exactly what this is, right? None of this is necessary. Islam isn't necessary for life or anything. This is a highly aggressive and power-focused ideology that's taken over this region of the world. And luckily, most people don't feel like being like total ideologues about it. But the Middle East has effectively been conquered by social justice, and the Wahhabis and the Salafis are the sort of autistic, screeching Twitter mobs of those. It's just that they get to chop off heads because they're scary
Yeah,
people.
I mean, to be fair, I can understand why people want to be Islamic scholars, and it's actually really difficult to be one because you have to study all the fatwas that were issued before.
Well, it gives you like the priestly class, you know. It becomes like but it gives you influence over people without having to actually
Exactly,
earn
like
influence over
you
people.
can actually be a judge, like a Westerner judge, you know, because you get your own mosque and you get to decide over like family disputes and stuff like that. So like people who laugh at the idea of becoming an Islamic scholar, first of all, it's not easy. It's not something like you just read the Quran and congratulations.
Yeah, no.
And secondly, it's a lot of power, it's a lot of authority. So I can see why a lot of people want to do it.
Yeah, and again, the basic thing is, this has been going on for so long. These people actually believe this stuff. I mean, imagine how long it took us in the West to go from being hardcore Christians to actually becoming the people we are today. It took hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I think it's like mostly because of science, you know, like people were discovering shit and they were like more focused on the science.
I don't know. I think it's actually mostly because of the hippies.
Yeah, I think it's more of a civil movement than a science thing.
Yeah, it was. Because I mean, people were still heavily religious, even though they had like good science, you know, and the scientific method.
I can tell you this from a medical point of view, right? The thing that set medicine aback a lot of years is because you couldn't open a human body, right? Even if it was dead, you were not allowed to cut a human body open and study the organs and study everything like that.
Oh yeah, religion definitely holds science, but I don't think that science necessarily defeats religion.
No, but there's like more things about it, right? So there was the fact that illness comes from God, and curing illness is basically working against God. And I know like the only way to cure illness is with prayers, right? You have to go to church, you have to pray hard, you know, regret your sins. And a lot of people don't understand that this was actually a thing, right? So people who say like Christianity is not, you know, a bad religion, if you'd apply it to the extreme, like people applied it in the Middle Ages, then it can become harmful. You know, like imagine if someone gets sick and, you know, you can't have a doctor because now you need to go to church and pray.
Yeah, but I think that's a bad example because the thing is, we haven't moderated Christianity. Christianity has moderated itself due to public demand, which is why it has become the moderate force it is now.
I think Mormonism is pretty radical.
If we let the religious fundamentalists and Christian sects take over and run a theocracy, they would.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would. I mean, you would find an entire generation of kids that just instantly grow up as militant theocratic Christians because they'd be brainwashed like that in school.
Yeah.
Like, we can't really change that, I don't think. As long as we're at that point... I mean, think about this. If we were to actually occupy an Islamic country, and we were to actually make it proper, we were going to win the peace, yeah? It'd probably take us 50 years, at least.
You know how it would occupy the country?
It would have to be decades, but I think the idea of any military action against Saudi Arabia is absurd. It's not going to happen. It's as absurd as people saying, "Oh well, why do we buy our oil or sell weapons to Saudi Arabia? Because we buy oil from Saudi Arabia."
Yep.
And like for example, in Britain, Jeremy Corbyn's making a big stink about this. He's like, Theresa May sells weapons to the Saudis, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Jeremy, when you become Prime Minister, you will do the same. And if you didn't do the same, half of the country would starve. That's why you have to do it. So don't be pretentious and fucking precious about it.
The problem with your plan is that you want to bring the peace, right? If I would,
I want to stop terrorism.
If I was a dictator of a country that could, potentially win a war against Saudi Arabia, the way I would do it is just I would bring tanks in, I would just make fences around, what I want, which is the oil. And I don't give a shit about the rest of the country. They would be extremely militarized. And
yeah, but how are you going to protect that infrastructure?
Yeah, and anyone who comes within 10 kilometers would be shot. And
you will find yourself with an insurgency.
Yeah, but you just take the cities that, the convoy needs to go through.
Yeah, but
it doesn't work that easy. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
It's not that easy, because this is oil we're talking about here. You'd have to transport it millions of miles, probably, not millions, but thousands of miles to the spot where it's going to be. throughout that entire area, it might be at risk. You'd have to fortify the pipelines, you'd have to fortify the positions themselves, the oil drilling areas.
Hold on. The question is...
hang on, right. The thing is, it gets worse than that, right? That's assuming that you're looking at, like, I don't know, like, Greenpeace or someone sabotaging, like, an oil pipeline, right? So you've got guards who patrol it, and then you get, like, little groups of activists who plant explosives or something to blow it up, right? That's fine, because that's what we do in the West. But what you'd have in Saudi Arabia is every person you hired to work on this would be suspect. And it's not that they'd just be interested in blowing up the pipeline, they'd be interested in blowing up you. Well, anyone who worked for you would end up under threat of death.
Hold on. What is more cheap and basically realistic, to get the peace in Saudi Arabia, or to do what I just said?
What's more cheap and realistic is to not do anything. That's why we're not
just
doing
carry on the deal, and that's what they're going to do.
What about if you threaten the Kaaba? It's like if we see a lot of terrorist attacks against us, we just blow the Kaaba up.
Then we're gonna double the terrorist attacks against us, probably.
Jesus Christ, that's just going to make it far, far worse.
And then we blow up the Kaaba, and voila, we've tripled it.
You can't just triple. I mean, I can't even imagine the reaction, because you've got to understand, right? Muslims virtue signal too. Okay, you have every kind of behavioral trait you see from the regressive left, you see in the Muslims, in like the Muslim activists. And these people, they will sit there whipping themselves up into a fucking frenzy until you've got million-man strong jihads. It would be seriously, you would see a colossal increase in, like, ISIS and their fucking...
Yeah, but like the way you do it, you just threaten them and say, the first time a terrorist attack happens against us, we don't care by whom, we're just going to throw pig blood on the Kaaba. And then you, like, plaster the guy's face who made the explosion. It's like, this is the man responsible.
But by doing that, you're targeting people who have done nothing wrong.
Yeah, and the thing is, we might have to do that to a limited degree regardless, like with the CCTV cameras, but it's all about cost and effect. Like, the CCTV cameras will have a minimal effect on people, but it might have a great payoff. Just nuking the Kaaba is probably
I'm not saying nuking, I'm saying threatening to nuke, right? So I would just
then we threaten them, and would they call our bluff?
You threaten to, for instance, throw pig blood on it or something like that, right? And the first time you have, like, a person who detonates themselves in a terrorist attack, you poster that person's face, and then you throw the blood, and you're like, okay, this is the one responsible, this is his family, who, these people are responsible.
This is his family.
Well, that's not going to happen, V. And the only thing that any of that would do is create more jihadis.
Yeah, and then it's like more blood on the Kaaba, and every time someone does a terrorist,
it's not going to work that way.
That's probably going to go rather than. I do love V's thinking, though. Just like his family.
Well, this is one of the problems, right? Is that a lot of the time these, like, jihadi cells do operate in secret. Obviously you will find people in communities who know things about things, but it's not necessarily that, like, there's a widespread knowledge that someone's been in contact with ISIS. They go out of the way to keep that secret.
How do you think the Night Hunter would operate things, Arch? How would they deal with the issue?
Well, if we had access to something that was basically close to being a demigod, I think we could find a solution, but unfortunately... But he would probably agree with you, V. He would literally just keep torturing people worse and worse and worse and worse until people finally got the message. If he ran out of people first, well, fuck it, he solved crime.
Yeah, no people, no problem. Like.
Yeah, but talking about realistic solutions, though, it's going to be a long, slow process.
Oh, it is. And here's the thing, though, because a lot of people might say that, okay, this is all too extreme, we can't keep doing that. But the thing is, if we do nothing, the problem is going to keep escalating. And the longer we put this off, our inevitable reaction is going to be worse and worse and worse. Right now we're talking about, like, CCTV cameras, closing our borders, halting foreign funding to religious institutions, deportation for crimes. This is all relatively mild. If this keeps going for long enough, eventually the state will be voted into power, new people, with far more radical solutions. They'll probably be very far right-wing. And they're going to really start cracking down. We're talking Muslim second-rank citizens here. Personal
probably
surveillance,
like concentration
etc.
camps,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
with the Japanese.
It would be horrible. So I think
but
we
the
should
thing
deal
is,
with it
Art,
now.
like you can really stop being a Muslim, right? Because it's not an ethnicity thing. Like most people don't hate Arabs. I'm sure that even if you find like the worst alt-right ever, he probably doesn't hate Arabs, right? It's the problem with the ideology. It's because that's the problem with Islam. It's an idea.
Well, yeah,
it's not,
but
it's not your.
Yeah.
And that is true, but the thing is, we're talking from the perspective of the state here, and the state has to do something eventually, and it's going to have a target. And the longer we push this, the wider the target is going to be. Now we're trying to target religious institutes. If that doesn't work, eventually, the target is going to skip a level, and sooner or later, we're going to just be targeting Muslims. Blanket statement.
Well, you did mention Saudi Arabia. I think they'll just stop selling oil to countries that target Muslims. Blank statements,
Well, that would probably be the thing that would finally push us to invade them, and then everything would go to hell in a handbasket.
I'm actually curious, like, if all the nations in the world would boycott Saudi Arabia, how long will it be able to last? Like, it's a desert country. Like, you wouldn't have to boycott it for so long.
Yeah, but we wouldn't. We would last a considerably shorter period of time.
What about like political assassination of the dictators there?
Well, if we kill the current dictator, we'll have an Islamic dictator instead.
Well, and the problem with Saudi Arabia is there are like 50,000 people in the royal family, so you're gonna have to assassinate 49,999 people just to get to the last guy. So,
well, you
I think by then they may be somewhat suspicious.
What about assassinating until you get someone reasonable?
Well, that's the point. None of them are reasonable. No, in fact, that's not true. They're all as reasonable as they're ever going to get.
It's probably as good as we're going to get it, unfortunately.
Yeah. By the way, I want to make sure so Arch's channel doesn't get a community strike. I by no means advocate for anyone assassinating the Saudi royal family. Right? It's all hypothetical.
V calls for the Saudi royals to be assassinated. Wall Street Journal.
I know calling for Trump's assassination is fine. Okay, I understand that. But I know the Saudis are not, so it's just a joke, bro. Just a meme.
Yeah, but he's Trump, so it's fine. Anything you want to do to Trump is alright, obviously. Because Trump. I do think that is the main problem here, though, because we're not talking about this now because we hate Muslims. We're talking about this because we recognize the inevitable final.
It is out of compassion that I want this.
We're talking about the solution before the final solution.
Yeah, there are historical forces in motion, and I think everyone can see it. And ISIS can certainly see it. The Saudi government can certainly see it. And I'm sure our government can see it too.
ISIS are woke as fuck. I remember a girl that was asking me if the LGBT thingy is going to be with a terrorist attack, and I said no. They do not target gay people. Because they know if they target gay people, the media is going to have a fuss, and they're not going to be on their side.
Yeah. Do you know what's ironic as well is someone showed me a tweet from Griffiths from last year. She said, "This is literally a tweet by an Islamic State account. Westerners defending Islam have become a meme." And the meme that they saw is they can't stand the pure Islam revealed by Allah. They will only be pleased when you teach and promote the Islam that's made in the West. And they're talking about the sort of progressive religion of peace Islam.
I do love how the progressive stack has gone downhill to the point where we have literal Islamist fundamentalists going like, no, you're not real Muslims.
well, I mean, they say that's everyone, but like it's more this sort of no, you're not listening to us. You're actually marginalizing our voices and taking away our agency on the basis of our skin color or religion. And it's not that we're not stupid because we're brown and Muslim. We know what we're doing. We want you to just all die. And it's like, okay. It's not a foreign policy, you fucking morons. They literally do this to everyone.
This is another thing that governments should do. They should basically just read what ISIS talks about us. Just read one of the ISIS manuals. Like, this is what these crazy people believe. It's not. It's not that they don't know what they're doing, or they're like, no, they just want the West to burn, and they say it very clearly. It's like you allow things that are haram, and you ban things that are halal, and this is why you need to die.
Yeah.
It's all so very, very simple. Anyways, I think we've had a good little ramble on all of this. So
There's one thing I want to add. I think we should boycott Sweden at this point.
I think we should always boycott Sweden, regardless.
No, but listen to my reasoning, right? They're saying that people who fight for ISIS, when they come back, they should get free housing, welfare, and a car and driving lessons. So at this point, you're a terrorist state.
To be fair, though, Norway's probably offering something similar, aren't they, Arch?
No, if you go to ISIS, you're a traitor, as far as Norway is concerned, and we will throw you in jail.
Right.
Granted, but our jail is literally an island, off the coast.
Yeah, with Wi-Fi probably as well.
No, but the thing is, like, if they implement that, because right now they're just considering, but if they implement that, you are a terrorist state. Right? You're offering safe harbor to an international known terrorist organization. And they should be treated like Iran is treated by Qatar and
but Sweden don't have the oil to worry about invading them.
Yes, we could happily invade Sweden. In fact, most of the population would welcome us as liberators.
But the thing is, what do you think they're liberating? Millions of immigrants.
No, but like, imagine this, right? Someone can join ISIS, commit a crime in Germany or whatever, and then just go to Sweden and seek the benefits.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling, insane, right? But obviously they didn't talk about, like, it's horrible if he does that because it's Germany. But someone can go in, I don't know, Iraq, can behead a few people, take a picture with a beheaded child, and then go back to Sweden and seek benefits.
Yeah,
and I do hope they do, because then they won't come to Norway or England or any other place.
Well, you don't know that, actually. They travel quite a lot in Europe.
Oh, and another way we should consider, like, how to stop terrorism is just destroy ISIS, right? I mean, they're not like the Al-Qaeda, where they're like, oh, well, they're in caves, we don't know where they are. No, they're the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. If you destroy them...
The thing is, they do end up running to the mountains north of Iraq.
Right, the interesting thing with ISIS is that they have the ideology that they will start the caliphate. Right, so the moment they show weakness, they lose a lot of people. They lose followers. They lose ideology power. Right, so they have to constantly just take territory in order to show that they're strong. And recently, with their defeat, they have lost a lot of support and a lot of manpower as well. Not because people were killed, but because they're like, okay, so
but when they go back to being an insurgency, they'll have. After Mosul as well, because they were all fighting to the death, they'll have a nice sort of Thermopylae moment, and they'll start dragging it back, because there are still people who want to see what they want enacted. Then if they get a competent leader like Zakari again, they can easily pull it back. In fact, insurgencies are way worse than having to fight real battles. Especially for the West.
Yeah, if anything, all of the headlines we've seen so far, we're winning against ISIS, those are just going to start going away, because they're going to go back into the deserts, and we're going to chase them for another 20, 30 years with very little consequences.
Yeah.
It's downright annoying, in fact.
Yeah. I say just give them their fucking caliphate. Convert Saudi Arabia into a caliphate.
Wasn't that how it started to begin with?
No. It was a kingdom. It was a sort of duchy or an emirish emirate. But yeah, no, seriously, convert into the caliphate. Make the king the caliph. Fuck it, their problem now. that'll draw the Islamic State to them like a fucking moth.
They actually have a wall with Iraq against to protect themselves from terrorism, and it's like so high tech, with motion sensors and rapid response teams and things like that.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Best that money can buy.
Alright, so unless anyone else has something else to add?
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This has been an interesting little conversation. So, until next time, thank you everyone very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon.
Mark.
Do you mind